to go in. That is the... Everybody in the world touched the pad and it should be used. So I've got the, let's take a little... Good morning crew and welcome to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. Now, this is a slightly different video. It is, believe me. Normally you'll watch me on the screen fixing something, showing you how to fix things, or maybe doing an autopsy on something that's gone wrong and trying to work out what the problem was, what the primary fail was. With this video, we're going to destroy something. Yes, we are, in a controlled environment, basically. Now, I remember when I was at college, learning all about engines and things, we had to rebuild an engine and, you know, do all the tolerances and torque settings and assemble it correctly to my instructor's satisfaction. And then, at the end, the instructor grabbed one of the engines, put it into an engine rig, we ran it up, and he ran it up at full RPM, and then decided to drop some nuts and bolts down the intake manifold. Obviously, there was instant carnage. There was lots of clanging and banging from the engine, and then it came to an immediate stop, and we stripped the engine down as a team to see what the damage was. And you might say to yourself, well, why on earth would you do that? What was the point? Well, the point from the instructor, my tutor, was to really highlight the importance of making sure that nothing falls down the intake on the engine when you're working under the bonnet. Pretty damned important. Even the smallest of bolts or washers can cause some very serious damage to the internals of that engine. And it just so happens that I've been given instructions, commands by the wife to get rid of our paddock basher. We have an old, what is it? Yeah, look, there's the Regio label, a 1988 Nissan Sentra 1.3. Phenomenal machine, manual too. So we've had many days of fun playing stock cars over in the paddocks, bashing into each other, and it's been used for towing the trailer around the place and generally filled up with crap. And now the clutch is burnt out pretty much. It does still move, but only just. I thought, well, rather than just send it straight off to the scrapyard and get crushed, let's give this vehicle one last send-off. Let's make it, you know, stay in history forever, sat on YouTube, and use the engine, which does still run. I think it's only on 3 pots at the moment, though. It's been stood for about 18 months, maybe even 2 years. It hasn't been run. Put the carburetor back on it. I'd actually stolen the carb for something else. Put the carb back on it, chucked some fuel down the intake manifold, and she fired straight up with a new battery on there, or a charged battery. So it definitely didn't want to die, and I like engines like that, ones that really are quite eager to go. And this one definitely wanted to run. So I thought, well, you know, let's replicate that. I was going to originally just drop all the oil out and run the engine up at full RPM and wait for it to seize up and then pull it apart and look for the seizure. But that's pretty much, it's going to be a very similar kind of autopsy to the one that I did previously, which is actually my most popular video. So there was no point in replicating that because it's already been done. I've already done it, and I'm sure plenty of other people on YouTube have done it too. So it's going to be nuts and bolts down the intake manifold at maximum engine RPM. It's going to be great fun, isn't it? I can't wait to see the carnage when we pull the engine apart. Now this video is going to cover getting the engine running, run it up to RPM, maximum RPM, and introducing the nuts and bolts. And then I'll take the engine out. I won't do that to camera because you know how to take engines out of cars now. I've done plenty of those. RAV4, for example. And then we'll pull the engine apart on the second video and we'll see what damage those nuts and bolts did to the engine. Should be pretty cool. Okay, so at the moment the vehicle is sort of part in the garage. I'm quite unfortunate in the fact that I can't get full-size cars in the garage. So, you know, sorry for the glare, which is all that lot there. I've got to try and stand in the way of all that on the camera, gets really upset. So we'll get the machine fired up and we'll get it warmed up to temperature. At the moment it's running, its fuel supply is out of a can because of course the fuel in the fuel tank is completely stale. So it is a little bit dangerous, and if things do catch fire, then you probably see me as being the first one to run. I'll probably panic a little bit first because there's no fire extinguishers around here. But there is only a small amount of fuel in the can, so it shouldn't be too catastrophic. But I don't think it'll happen. So we'll get the machine fired up, we'll get it warmed up. It does have actually a water leak on the water pump. That is something it didn't used to have, and that's probably from being stood for so long. So I can only run the engine for so long. I don't want to have it to seize up on the bore, between the piston and the bore, before we've done the experiment. Yeah, it should be good fun, eh? Okay, right, well, without further ado, let's go and destroy an engine. Here we go. So as you can see, pretty simple kind of machine. I've already got the air intake, the air filter assembly taken off so we can get straight down through the carb. I'm going to choose some quite small nuts and bolts, really, you know, because that way they're going to get drawn in quite easily. And it may take a while with little ones to cause some real serious damage to the point where the engine's going to actually stop. I don't want to chuck some real big ones in and suddenly seize the whole thing immediately. I want to create as much carnage as possible. So you can see it's been one careful owner from new. It's in very good condition. It's a bit of a shame to be doing this to it, really. There's hardly any rust on the vehicle. Yeah. The sad thing is, everything still works. The starter motor still works, the alternator still charges, the distributor's still working just fine. I imagine there's a set of points in there. I'm not even bothered looking, to be honest. So yeah. I'm sorry about the noise as well. The exhaust has sort of partly destroyed itself, so it's going to be quite noisy, but isn't that what engines are all about? So if you want to turn your volume down a bit, you can do. Okay, I've had a quick look around the workshop to see what I can spare, and I've got a little box of spoke nipples, believe it or not, off a bicycle. And these are pretty damn small actually, so they should fit very nicely through the intake manifold, or through the carb, through the intake manifold, and probably make their way past the intake valves extremely well. Okay, let's get that thing fired up to maximum RPM. Damn, we ran out of fuel on this one, so I'll have to go and steal some more fuel out of Ben's pickup probably. It turns out that these little tiny nipples, you know, when you're trying to stage something, it doesn't work, does it? They're actually too large for the carb, and they've all got built up in the carb, and that's why the engine RPM came down a bit, because it was struggling for air. So they're all piled up inside the carb. So I'll whip the carb off once it's cooled down, clean, you know, get rid of all those bits and pieces. We'll find something a bit smaller. I have a load of iron filings, that could be cool. And you know, mix those in with some nuts and bolts, maybe some really, really small nuts, that might work. And then we'll get it fired back up again, and we'll give it a second chance to kill this engine. Here we go. Yeah, that's what stopped it. That was a lack of air supply and not bits into the engine. I bet one or two have gone through the engine, but it's just not enough to stop it. So we'll carry on with the carnage. It's rather a hot engine, was that? Burnt fingers. Anyway, okay, so one carburettor is now off. All those little bits, look. Oh, and some petrol. Right, I'll get all the rest of them out. Jeez. Looking down the intake manifold, I don't think actually any made it through, so we might have to remove some of the other butterflies. Or at least wedge them open before we start the next step of the experiment. We can do that. Okay, plan B. Here we go. Right, I'm back. Okay, carb is clear of all the bits. I have removed the throttle damper. I have also removed, where is it? The auto choke system, which is that electrically controlled bimetal strip thingy in there, which is pretty cool, but now completely useless. And basically, there is a bit of damage in there because I was ramming things down with a screwdriver, but hey, such is life. I'm sure she'll still work. When we open the throttle, there's your primary. And then once that's open, now it's really easy for that other one just to flap open as well. There we go, look. So hopefully now, lots of bits are going to fall down through that carb, unlike the first attempt. Far too complicated. Fuel injection, much more fun. Okay, right, I'll get this bolted back on. Hopefully this time it won't be quite so hot, and we'll give it another go. I'll find some little tiny bolts. Golly, the anticipation here is killing me. It's not often I get a chance to destroy something deliberately, is it? Okay, so plan B. The carb is on. The engine does run. Unfortunately, when I was munching the old nipples into the carb with the screwdriver, it actually destroyed the primary jet. So I took it out. Now it works again, but it won't idle. But that's okay, because we want it to run flat out, don't we? Okay, right. I have found about 100 hardened ball bearings out of basically bicycle head races. Don't tell Ben. But they were old and pretty knackered. So I've given them a clean up, got rid of all the grease, so they're nicely free flowing. And we've got a nice delivery system now. So we're going to use the funnel and get the engine up to maximum RPM and then drop all of those straight down through the carb and into the cylinders past the valves, the intake valves. Will it be enough to kill the engine? Or will I need to find some more stuff to put through it? I don't know. Only time will tell. You know, some of these ball bearings are going to go straight into the cylinder and straight back out through the exhaust valve and may not cause any damage at all. That's what's called being really, really lucky. On the other hand, it could be quite the opposite. You know, they could get stuck on top of the piston, munch into the head, get embedded in the piston, crack the piston. All sorts of problems. They get stuck under the valve, keep the valve open, the piston hits the valve, bends the valve. Man, there's all sorts of stuff that could go wrong. We have got 4 cylinders to play with. So it might drop 1 or 2 cylinders, but it might keep running. Just don't know. But there's plenty of fuel in the can, so we've got plenty of time. I'm in no rush to destroy this engine. Yeah, maybe a slow demise. Oh, that killed it. That doesn't sound very good. Well, the iron filings finished it off, didn't it? So, wish it was a bigger carb because those ball bearings kept getting stuck, but we did get most of them in there. And but she kept running, but it wasn't running on all cylinders. And then I thought, iron filings. Let's go and find the power hacksaw and get a handful of those. And it didn't take very much more to kill it. And now, when we crank it over, not a lot of compression going on. Not good at all. So, you're going to have to watch the next video to see what the autopsy is like on that engine. It should be pretty interesting, I reckon. It's all going to be top-end problems. It's not going to affect the crank. It's not going to be affecting the big ends or the mains. It's going to be a top-end carnage. A little bit different to what we saw on the on that Honda engine that I did an autopsy on. Okay, crew. Well, it's about time for me to head off and have a nice cup of tea because it's taken me quite a while given that issue with the carb. But hey, the journey's not over yet. I also want to, when I pull the engine out, get the gearbox out, I'm going to pull the gearbox apart. I'm going to do an inspection on that as well. Another video at some point. Who knows, it could be a year's time knowing me. Okay, crew, well, if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to the channel? Click on subscribe, you'll see a little gear icon. Click on the gear icon, and then you can tick the box to turn on notifications. You can also click the bell if you're on a mobile or something, you know, smartphone. And our friends down at YouTube will send you an email as and when I upload any new videos, because they're pretty cool like that. It's very helpful. You'll also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, and Twitter. And feel free to communicate through any of those portals. But I would say first point of contact through YouTube, because, hey, that's where the video is, and that's where most people look at the comments. Most of them are pretty good. There's the odd one that's not quite so good. Hey, it's all a bit of fun, isn't it? Alright guys, thanks for watching Andy Mechanic, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, over and out.